Thank you so much for coming. For me, it's a huge privilege to be here with you. I especially want to thanks to Rek Urbanowski and John Bond for welcoming me to be with you today. So, as Reg told you, I am from Spain, from University of Vic, Universitat Central de Catalunya, and my goal here is just to share some experience of participatory action research we are developing, because I really hope to be able to share some of this work and to continue working with you. So I will mostly present a project we have developed in Barcelona at the Center of Contemporary Culture. It's called CCCB. It's one of the most prestigious culture institutions of Catalonia. This is one of the places we are developing our research. So I will present projects about people with dementia or people with mental health problems going to Center of Contemporary Culture. Or for example, now we are also working at the Museum Thyssen in Madrid. Maybe you have listened about Thyssen Museum. There we are working with mental health survivors. So plus this, we are also using art activities with clients, but today I will focus on the impact that has this kind of projects when people with Alzheimer or people with mental health problems go and visit the Museum Thyssen or, for example, the CCCB in Barcelona. So this is a project was done in partnership with this institution, the Centro de Cultura Contemporánea de Barcelona, and my university, University of Vic. I am the director of one research group. It's called Mental Health and Social Innovation, and we are always looking for innovative ways to work, mostly based from the community, and always trying to empower the communities and working from the amazing resources and the amazing capabilities of the persons and the communities themselves. So here you see us just entering one of the sessions of this project. So it has no sense for me to explain you what's dementia about, of course. You are more experts than myself. Let me say I'm talking as researcher on this area, but I am also talking as a son of somebody who had Alzheimer. So I must say that when entering this field, I had such a big motivation, because as you know, Alzheimer disease has a huge impact in the life of the persons, but also on the life of the families. This is not part of the conference, but let me say I've been working in international field. I've been working in war countries, in Bosnia, Guatemala, and Kosovo. I've been working in Africa, so you can imagine sometimes I have faced difficult circumstances myself. But if you ask me one of the most hard events or hard moments in my life, I will for sure say that to be seated in front of my father and not to be able to ask him who I am, or ask him crying, because at that time my father was not able to recognize me. So you know what we are talking about. And dementia is affecting 46 million of people now. But these figures, as you know, are increasing, and some experts say that it's double every 20 years. So I don't know the situation in Canada, but I know the situation in Spain, that we have higher demands for good attention. At the same time, we are decreasing the resources available. So it's it's not possible mathematics. More need, less resources. So in front of this situation is when we start thinking we need to be innovative, how we can work in a different way. So, of course, do you know, I don't know, the Mario Benedetti? It's one of my favorite poets. He's from Uruguay, and he says that forgetfulness is full of memory, that it's a life treasure that these persons are carrying with. So another important thing to remember is that art, to be able to participate in the artistic life of the community, it's a human right. It's not something additional. It's an essential need for human beings. I strongly believe that art, culture, is the language of human spirit. So no matter where I am, I can be using art, working in Canada, working in Spain, or working in Africa, because art is part of the language of the spirit. And it's a human right, and people has the right to participate and the right to enjoy. But also it's very important that we must consider that when we go to scientific research, authors as Seidel, they say that dementia takes longer to affect creativity and artistic appreciation and expression. So when the dementia is progressing, there are remaining parts, and that part that allow us to enjoy, to express ourselves through art, is remaining. And I go back to my son role. I perfectly remember just walking with my father. He at that time was not able to tell my name, but we were singing because my father was a musician, and he was able to sing all the lyrics from his songs at the time that he didn't knew the name of his son already. So it's true that, so when evidence-based is saying this, we must take profit of this reality. And what is clear is that dementia does not prevent to visit art centers. Of course, we must make the effort to adapt them. Of course, we must make the effort to make the adaptations and just to make sure all the things are going well. But dementia itself is not an obstacle. Sometimes societies, we as society, are more creating the dysfunction because we are not good enough making the social, architectural adaptations, whatever. But it's not the illness itself. It's more about the stigma. It's more about the lack of adaptations at the community level. So that is very important. And of course, there is a lot of evidence, a lot of research saying that art, culture improve the quality of life of the persons we work with. So it's an amazing resource. We have to use it in our interventions. And also we're in an amazing moment when the museums and the centers of culture are changing mentality. You know, Bauman has a very good book reflecting what's the, Simo Bauman, what's the goal of culture. And he said culture can be used in different ways. Culture can be a way to control society. Through culture I can make you to think what I want to think. And power always used to use culture just for their benefit. But also culture can be a strong tool for emancipation. And of course we are working in this dimension of culture. And we are assisting to an amazing movement from the museums and the cultural centers that they move away to be a place for the elites. They go to the museums and they feel funky and we are modern because we visit the museums. There is a strong commitment today from the museums and art centers. They really understand we are part of the community and we must serve to all the populations at the community level. And this is changing a lot. For example, now we are discussing with Museo Thyssen, is one of the 3 most important museums, and they are completely devoted to this mission. Art is universal. Art is for all the community. So it's important. But also for us, it's extremely important. Do you know Paul Ricoeur? He's a French philosopher. He was talking about the phenomenology of the will. And he reminds us that human beings, we are capable of word, of action, and of narrative. So it's extremely important when we work with people with Alzheimer or people with dementia, always to remember the amazing capabilities, resources, history they still have with them. Because so many times we depart for a strong stigma, for myself when I was educated. I was not lucky enough to study with Rec at the Faculty of Rehabilitation Science in Canada. I studied in Spain. We were trained in a medical model. We were just able to see the deficits. Oh, there is a cognitive deficit, there is a memory deficit. We were not trained to see the resources, the capabilities. So it's important as society to change our mentality. And we must be aware that we are in a society, it's a neo-capitalist society where citizens must produce and produce and produce, and if you are not producing, you are out of the game, and this is not fair. So we must construct a society where human beings are on the center again, and we must give respect to the people who also has created all the well-being that now we are negating in Spain. For example, the people who went through the civil war in Spain, who created the welfare society, now we're saying, oh, we don't have enough money to locate in their well-being. So we cannot do that for sure. So it's very important to remember. I like Mathintiri, it's a philosopher who says, as human beings, we are interdependent. Because we are in this narrative of the individualism and independence is not true. As humans beings, we depend of each other, always. When we are smaller, when we are older, maybe more, but always. So we must remember this. But especially to remember the capabilities of the persons. I think it's very important. So the project I will present, we were welcome for the CCCB because they started thinking how we can be a more inclusive center. So they decided to start a program. It's called CCCB Alzheimer. They had inspiration from the MoMA Museum at New York. And they decided, okay, how we're gonna do is like this. One day, Mondays, that the center is closed, we are gonna open the center just for people with dementia or Alzheimer. Normally they work with clients in the first stage, but it's not something secret, so it means the level of people, the level of function is changing, but it's more for people who are in day centers in Spain, in Barcelona around, from the Alzheimer's Society, whatever, who visit the exhibitions they have. And they open the museum just for them, and the visits just for the clients, the family members, and the caregivers. So all of them are enjoying the visits. Every visit consists of 8 to 12 persons that are doing the visits, and all the visit is organized and is adapted. They check all the audios, they check all the lights, they put seats there so they can rest, and of course they don't visit all the art pieces, they just select the ones, and they do a strong effort, the educators, just to connect the exhibitions with their life. They work reminiscence or whatever, but the visits last normally around 1 hour, and there are 2 educators from the CCCB just guiding the clients. But it's important you to notice that the regular exhibitions is what they're offering. It's not a special exhibition for people with dementia, no. It's not a special exhibition for people with Alzheimer. And it's the center of contemporary culture. So, for example, meanwhile, we were doing the research from the University of Vic. There was one exhibition, it's called Humans, discussing the future of humanity. And for example, this is one of the photos of the exhibition. There was discussing about orthotics and prostheses and whatever. And the other exhibition, we were visiting with the clients and doing the research. I will present the results to you. It was Making Africa. So it was something very contemporary, discussing about developments in Africa, war in Africa, political conflicts in Africa. So, and it's interesting because normally when we listen about dementia, always we are talking, okay, we must go to past, to reminiscence, and we are normally looking in the past history. But doing the research, we discovered that they are extremely interested in today's, what's going on the world today. So for example, these are some of the art pieces from Making Africa. This is discussing about the environmental consequences of our style of life. So we showed you short videos, so you can have some images before starting to explain the research and the program itself, because then I think it will be easier for you to have a better context of the research. So these are images from the research itself, so you'll see us going with the educators from the Contemporary Center Museum, with the clients, with the caregivers, and you'll see also some images of the research team. Just a short video, but I think it's going to be for you good just to see what we are talking about. So, as researchers, I strongly believe that our mission as academia is to contribute to society. So when we are working, normally I am working from a hermeneutic paradigm because we believe that the complexity, human beings are very complex, but we can grasp the complexity of human behavior especially through listening. So we work a lot from qualitative research, but also we are working from a critic paradigm. We strongly believe that science must impact and improve the life of society, the quality of life and well-being. That's our code. For us, it's very important. And I don't know if you know Emmanuel Mounier. He was a French philosopher, and he was talking about the need to do cycles of reflection and action. And he was comparing with the movement of the human heart, diastolic and systolic movements. So when we do research, we do action, then we do research to see the impact of the intervention, and with the research, we're improving the new actions, and you go in a cycle. So every time we are improving our interventions. And of course, we always try to be as much as participatory as we can. So part is a process of systematically examining a topic from the experienced life by the members of a community who are experiencing the reality. And it's very important when you think about Alzheimer or people with dementia, so many times they have been objects of our research. We do research about them, but it's not so common to do research with them. When you go to scientific literature, mostly we're saying that, for example, 80% of the people with dementia can follow an interview, but the most important part research says the person with dementia have shown their interest to talk in first person. So this is very important. So many times we are, as professionals, my background is occupational therapist, I did my PhD in inclusive education, sometimes we talk for them. And so many times it's very important to recover the idea of Sousa Santos. It's a Portuguese sociologist. He's talking about the sociology of emergences. There are so many voices who has been neglected, the voices of the women since not so long time ago, voices of people with disability, voices of people with dementia, they have been neglected. So it's important to develop a sociology of emergences. So we must listen because they carry a powerful knowledge to work with. So we're prioritizing qualitative research, giving voice to the persons with Alzheimer, but also we are doing the research with the educators and with the caregivers and with the family members. And we also were training the educators as co-researchers. So we are trying to be more participatory in this research. Of course, we were not pretending the people with Alzheimer to be researchers from the first day, but we always can try to make our research more participatory and more centered in the community. So for example, in the project we are doing now in Madrid, we are working with mental health survivors. Some of them we are training as co-researchers because they have more capabilities to do that. So I think it's an important thing, and it's important how we look at the reality and which lenses. So always we look from these capabilities and the resources and just trying to be client-centered. So we are doing mixed research methodologies. There is one part of the research is more quantitative, but mostly we are working from a qualitative research. The quantitative part we are using in this case is the non-pharmacological therapy scale. So it's more based on observation. And when we move to qualitative research, that I will present the results of both, we are working doing focal groups, but not only with the clients, but also with the caregivers and family members, and also with the educators from the program, because the museum wanted to know what's the impact of this project at the different levels, because it's not enough to do something. We think it's working well. No, we really want to know what's going on, how we can improve it. And also we are doing questionnaires with the educators, and we did also a field diary, participatory observation ourselves as researchers. So you see we had the qualitative and the quantitative and three different paths of qualitative data coming together. So it was very good for the triangulation of the results. So when we went to the quantitative research part, we're using the non-pharmacological therapy scale. We see we had totally 41 people participating in the project. So the participation of the clients was very high, almost close to 85 point, almost close to 90%. More than 80% they show interest, satisfaction and enjoyment during the visits. And because this scale, you know, is looking at the participation, enjoyment of the activity, the relationship with the others, and also is looking for displeasure, and when somebody is avoiding the activity, is the 5 categories this scale is looking at, and it's done through observation. So what we did was 2 different researchers were doing taking notes during the visits, but we were recording the visits, so we can fill the question, all the scale after, based on the field notes, but also in the recordings. So it was quite good follow-up. So you see almost there were participants and there were not showing displeasure. And you see the participation is the green, is very high. The enjoyment is the green also again, is very, very high. Relationship with others is very high. But when you go to avoidance or displeasure, it says never, almost never happens. So all the results were very consistent. And almost 90% of them they were relating to each other, and some of them were in the first etage of dementia or Alzheimer, but some of them were in another etage because they were not saying, okay, no, you're in the second etage, you don't enter. They welcome. They say to the day center of Alzheimer Society, we recommend people in the first etage to come because they will be able to enjoy more, but there is not a fixed test to enter, no, nothing like this. And for example, just 4 users, they were not interacting, but there was part of the users that were in a more advanced stage of the dementia. And no one was agitated during the visits, no one was out of the visits, and it was 41 participants. And they were in a completely new environment, in a museum, it's a modern museum. And of course, although they are adapting the visits, it's a strange place for them. And for example, the exhibition of the future of humanity, you see it was little strange objects and prosthetics. They were following so well. So when we move to the qualitative research, as I told you, we're working more from hermeneutics paradigm. We want to understand. We can understand, but to really understand, especially, it's very important to listen and to observe what's going on. So we're using the focus groups. Normally when you do focus groups, you work with 8 to 10 people. When we were doing the focus group with the clients, we were working with 3 to 4 people. It was very close focus group. The questions were very focused on these cases, and we designed the questionnaires with the educators of the center. So we have more projects going on in Madrid. Also we are working in Coruña and Portugal. So we have almost the questions are almost done, but we always adapt to the center, and we were working a lot with the educators of the center, doing the questioning. And of course, in each moment, any of the clients would show any sign of to be not enjoying or displeasure, we would stop, but it never happened. It was very easy going. And also we did the file diaries with the participant observations, 2 researchers plus the recording. So after the visits we were watching the videos, so it was very good to take all the notes. And we did the questionnaires with the educators. So these were the techniques we were using. Here, for example, in the photos you see us doing a focus group with some of the family members and with the caregivers, because we were taking as much voices as we could. So in the focus groups, again, the participants were 41, all of them were participating. And we, of course, we transcribed the data, and we are using Atlas T methodology. I don't know if you are using Atlas T, MaxQDA, what you are using. In Spain, we use Atlas T just when you go to the families, the codes and the family of codes. And the field diaries were done by 3 researchers. and we had the recording also, and the questionnaires were answered by the 3 educators who are part of this program. So even here you can see the different codes that were appearing. This was when we did the research about the focus groups of the caregivers and the clients, the users, and the family members. So you see the codes, the family of codes, the number of quotations, also the percentage of the quotes, because there are some quotes, for example, the quote of emotional well-being is very present. It's more than 10% of the quotes were about emotional well-being. Or for example, if you go to the importance of the adaptations is 3.4% code. So even when it's qualitative, you can see in a quantitative way which are the themes, the codes who are more prevalent in the discourse of the clients, the family members, and the caregivers. And we did the families, and the main families were the health, the impact of the program in the health, well-being of the persons, on the social participation, and also codes talking about the program. So these were the 3 main families. So when we did the questionnaires with the educators, also we had 4 families of codes: health, social participation, the program, and the role of the educators, of course. When they were talking about themselves, this was important part. And also you see the codes and the percentage of the codes. I will go later to narrative, that's the important part, I think. I just showing this. And also we did the analysis of the field diaries. 3 researchers did the field diaries, so also we are coding the field diaries. And the family of codes were health, social participation, and the role of the educators. So when we combine all the techniques in the qualitative, you see when you go to focus groups, to questionnaires, and the field diaries, there are 2 common codes: the impact on health and the impact on social participation. So in all the techniques, these appear as to be the main important families. When you go to the focus groups and the questionnaires, they have a common family of codes, that's the program. And when you go to questionnaires and the focus field diaries, one common code is educator. So it's kind of, they relate to each other. And the codes and family were done by 2 independent researchers. So I did myself the coding and the family of codes, and Jessica Garrido, which is also part of my research team, she did by herself, and then we mixed. It's not just one person coding, it was 2 people coding and deciding the families. So, but I think the most important for me now is to share their voices with you. I think it's the part of the research that is really interesting. So, for example, when we did the focus group with the users and the caregivers and the family members, one of the main family I told you is health. For example, one of the clients was saying that it's nice, the memory goes to the water. He's aware that he's losing the memory, but in the moment you enjoy. It's such a difficult moment, I think, for people when they realize that they are losing their capabilities, but they're still, say, I am aware of this, but I can enjoy still with reality. So I think it's very valuable. And the program has a positive impact on people's health. Especially one of the main categories is the extremely positive impact in the emotional well-being. You don't think about anything, just you enjoy the moment. I have had a great time, I like it. You know, when you go to Chismahali, this feeling of flow, how the clients were saying, you are enjoying it, you flow with it, you enjoy the moment. So I think that's very, it's interesting, because in their normal life, so many of Alzheimer's or people with dementia, they are not so lucky to be in a center like this. I don't know the major part of the Canada centers, how they are, but in Spain, so many of the centers, the quality of intervention is not the best one, and sometimes they do routinary things, and they are bored, and they are almost sleeping and whatever. They are not so lucky to be here. So when these kind of people that is not in their centers with not meaningful occupations to be done, they can experience this. This is very something important. But it's not just the client who is saying this, but also the family members. One daughter was saying, yes, then at home she's happy. She explains it to my father. My mother keeps the diary and she writes, yes, it's very positive. So it's not just while they're in the museum, they're enjoying it, after, when she goes back home, this lady, she's talking with her husband, is explaining, we have done this and ta. And she's writing about this. So it has a longer impact. And also it's very important for the caregivers. Narrowly, I don't know how everything works, but I do know that it changes their emotional state a lot. So the caregivers are realizing how their emotional well-being is improving the days they're going to the visits. So you see the client, the family member, and the caregiver agree that this is working well. And the program had not a really impact on the physical well-being. It was not expected to do so, but it was appearing in this category also. Tired, but not. On the contrary, we are very active, with enthusiasm to see everything. So people who normally are not very active, I will tell you, when you were asking how we can increase the program, they say we want longer visits, we want more visits. So they were really active during the visits. And one of the caregivers said they had no time to get tired. Those who walk did not want to sit at any time. So they were really expectant, what's going on and what's next. And so they were not like in a passive, they were quite active. So it was very, very interesting. And of course, one category is very important is the cognitive well-being. So, and there are cognitive impact. Of course, there is the evocation of memories. 8.6% of the codes were talking about this. But also it was very important, this category, they are enjoying the novelty. So sometimes if you go to literature, they say there is no learning at this stage, whatever. But our research all the time was appearing that they're enjoying to learn new things, they want to know new things, and there is this enjoyment of the novelty. And as I told you, one exhibition was about the future of humanity. It's temporarily far from them, and the other one was Africa. It was geographically very far from them, but they were really interested and they wanted to know. So this was very, very important for us when we see this result. At the level of cognitive impact, I have seen them very well and attentive. When they are not interested in some activity, they just fall asleep. It's not like they are always like this. If they don't like, they fall asleep. Today they're active because there is something making them to be active. So it's very important the quality of occupations we are giving to people. So this we talk a lot about meaningful occupations as something a common language. We are always looking for this meaning. And a fundamental aspect is the evocation of memories. I really like culture centers and museums because my husband liked them very much, and we went to these places. Of course, I am just showing one narrative with you, but we have hundreds of narratives, and a lot of them were talking about their past life. I have a very cultural life. My husband, myself, we went to opera, we went to museums, we went to theater. Even those who were not doing before, they were enjoying to do it. So we cannot prevent people, we cannot force people to lose this part of their history. Because some of them also were studying music or whatever, so it's such an important part of their identities. So it's important for them to be able to be in touch with that. As the caregivers comment, many times we don't take into account the life history of the person. These people who painted or have played an instrument is a way to connect with their life history. And when they connect to themselves, it's different. It's what I talked with my father. When I sing their songs of Los Panchos, it was different. With him, or when he was listening to music, he completely transformed as a person. And even you see that the photos, I think the photos that were done by Blanca, is one of our team, people from our team. Their eyes are talkative. They express interest, they express interaction, they express something beautiful is happening here. I'm not talking in a scientific way. What I told you, 9.4 of the codes were talking about enjoyment of novelty. For example, this was watching the piece art you see below of the orthotics and prosthetics and these things. And what about the girl in the leg, the prosthesis to run? That I really like. These advances, they are very interesting. So they wanted to know more about how science is improving prosthetics or whatever. Or for example, also the orientation with reality. Yes, lately it only exists because of war, Africa. Although Nelson Mandela was there. So you have a bunch of people with Alzheimer or dementia just discussing about what's going on in Africa, and one is talking about Nelson Mandela and the other one is talking about poverty, and it was really interesting. And as the family members corroborate, I find it, yes, this was the same example. And this daughter was saying that, you know, when my mother is watching TV and they're talking about Africa, she doesn't react to that. But when we have been in the museum, we have seen this exhibition about Africa. After at home, she was talking about what's going on in Africa. So she was involved with contemporary reality through art, but she cannot be connected when she's just watching on TV news, for example. So it was very, very interesting. I will show you the piece of art later, so you will see it. And of course, the project is a lot about social participation. That's the second big family. So the programs helps to break the situation of isolation, of exclusion. So here I am much better. I hope we can be more often out from the day center. Some day centers, I told you, are not as nice as these ones with this wonderful garden and whatever. Some day centers are sad and are not nice places to be. So for people, it's more to escape from them. So it's very important they have the chance to go out. And as the caregivers confirm, many of them are people living alone. Some are close at home from Friday to Monday. Or it's the first time she has been out for 7 years. You know, the social determinants of health, you know, people living under poverty conditions, plus Alzheimer, plus dementia, it can mean that I am close at home. If I am living in a third floor, no elevator, whatever. So for them for this lady was the first time she was going out for a long time, and so many times are closed. So instead of being close at home, they're in a museum, enjoying art, enjoying culture. So that's very important. It facilitates the social interaction. I feel good with the group. We always go out together. So the users are enjoying to be together each other. They were joking. I will talk to you about humor later. They were enjoying to be together, enjoying the activity. And as the relatives say, the daughter was reflecting how for her mother it's more difficult now to have social interactions, but when she came to the museum, although she is not with the group, she was easier to contact with the people with dementia, and how it was easy for her to make social connections at that time. So, for example, here you see the interactions with the educators. The educators have an active role, looking for these interactions all the time. So, on time, it's okay. So, the third main category family is the program itself. People enjoy the visits, that's clear from the research. At this age, we cannot expect anything, but I really enjoy watching it. So, people that sometimes society puts apart, they know that it's kind of parking. So when they are welcome back to society, they really enjoy it. And they have the right to be in the society. And that's our responsibility. We must be very clear about this. I love coming to the museum. It's not, it's okay, it's not bad. No, I love. The Spanish expression is adoro. Adoro is something you say to your wife and to your husband and you really love him. I adore you. So it's a very important expression. I love it to be here. And it's not bad. I love it. I adore to be here. So even the caregivers, I don't have the words, but it seems to me spectacular, a wonderful program. Sometimes when you are a caregiver and you want to offer the best services to your clients at the community level, so many times you don't have so many good options. I don't know, in Canada, in Spain, there are not so much. So to have the Center of Contemporary Culture just open just for you on Mondays, that's spectacular. They say it, it's not me. And family members, when I saw that Alzheimer's program, saw that the sick person and the family could come, I thought it was fantastic. That institution that you can think is more dedicated to the younger audience, a day they close and they just open for people with Alzheimer. It seems to me the most innovative thing I've seen in so many years. And she's an expert, because you have a family member with Alzheimer, you become an expert in all the resources available. And she was talking for this expertise, and she was saying, this is fantastic, this is wonderful, this is something innovative. So this was very, very important also. So one of the key factors, of course, the adaptations that is just open for them, but the educators, Tere and all the group of the CCB are just amazing. How they were welcoming them, how were they explaining to them, how they all time making connection with the art, with their life. So the explanations went very well. They are excellent. As the caregivers say, the best part of the visit is your treatment of the educators. So it's not just to open a museum to them and say, okay, just go. It's from the first moment they arrive with the car and they are on the street welcoming them. They just put the names, and from the first moment they are taking care. It's really beautiful. When you are there as therapists, as experts, you realize when beautiful things are happening, not just from a professional point of view. And to be part of this project was really, really nice. Of course, it's adaptations, not just architectural adaptations, but all the audios, all the lights, because some of the exhibitions, especially humans, were very noisy. No, they control the audios. Okay, we put out the volume here, whatever. So they work a lot on this. And especially the fact that it's close, just with a small group going on, that's very, so people can concentrate. It's not the same if you are in Museum Thyssen, for example, you have thousands of visitors per one day. We do it with mental health survivors, and they are walking around the museum in a normal day. But when we go with this, with people with Alzheimer, we do in a special day for them. So you see again the interactions of Tere. She's one of the educators. Are you following okay? Although my Spanish, English, whatever. So it also was very meaningful when you ask them how we can improve this. They say the visit was short. So when the clients say, I want more, is that something good is going on, of course. And the regularity, because every time they have a new exhibition, they invite the groups, so it's not they come back to the same exhibition one and one, no. They come for one exhibition, 2-3 months later they come to the next one, so they would love to have more visits available. And it highlights the impact of the program in the caregivers. So this is a wonderful thing. It's not just the impact on the clients, of the users, it's also the impact of caregivers. So because people who are the caregivers are taking care of them, but there is also emotional bond with the people, so I think you can agree with that. So when we were asking them, it has impact on you as caregiver to be with them here? They say, yes, so much. When I see them sad, this affects me. When I see them happy, I feel happy. So of course, when you see the emotional well-being was very good, the caregivers also were feeling good. And also this was very important. One of the caregivers said, it has a cultural point that I find very attractive. It's not the typical program like when you are going to play bingo or whatever, which for me has no interest, personal interest in my life. Within my world, I can share this with friends. I can comment that I have gone to CCCB and I have done this exhibition. I can recommend exhibitions, and even their cultural life is being enriched by the program. So they're enjoying the program themselves. So that was important for the caregivers. So this was the focus group's results with the caregivers and the clients and the family members. So also we listen the voice of the people from the program, the educators. So they were realizing that what they are doing, they have an important impact in the emotional well-being. Normally they can happy and they stay well during the visits. They are experience of apathy, but they change to positive during the visit. So they have people who, when they arrive, they are very apathic. They move the mood during the visit. There is not any negative impact in the physical well-being of the clients. We don't see excessive fatigue because also visits are calculated and there are seats, and of course they take care of them a lot about these aspects. Okay, here's the photo. The level of cognitive impact is important. People with Alzheimer's experience an intellectual stimulus, establishing connections between personal experience and the world around them, because always they are playing, this is contemporary, what's about your life? And the educators are trying to make these connections. And of course the program facilitates the recall of memories. The program totally facilitates the reminiscence. It's usually manifested by asking them direct questions that can relate to their vital experience. So my wife, my husband, they start talking about good, and then the memories they share, they are very positive. Normally when we were there, listen to them. Yes, I went with my husband, and they were talking about moments of happiness. And I think, just reflecting now, that's important, because when you are, you have the Alzheimer or dementia, a lot of your narrative is, oh, I have a pain here, or something is wrong. So to be able to focus on the happy moments and to create more happy moments, I think is very, very important. So it's about social participation. They develop a different activity than usual, and this can lead to different relationships with the caregivers and the family. In some way, they return to perform an activity with a certain normality. They are citizens of full rights. They have full right to be active participants of the community level, at the artistic dimension. It's their right. We're not talking about we're talking about human rights, and when we talk about human rights, this is not something that we can discuss about. It's the right, and we are the ones who are responsible for them to respect the rights. And it's easy to say it here. You have a wonderful museum of human rights, so congratulations. I enjoyed the visit. It's impressive. And I think it talks a lot about Manitoba, but when you decide to do a huge museum, you devote it to human rights. So I think it talks a lot about you and the kind of person you are. So it implies to break the routine and the isolation. It's not the same programs day per day. It's something completely new. You go out, you go to the museum, so you go take the vehicle. Sometimes I came by metro, so it was even a lot of activity of daily living is contact with reality. Okay, you go to underground, you take the metro, you take the van, you go to the museum, you see Barcelona. Just to go around Barcelona, it's a beautiful city. It's Gaudi's architecture, and just that I think it's important for them. But it's not the same Monday, the same on Tuesday, the same on Wednesday, on Thursday. So I think it's very important. And we must be very clear about one thing is that we are helping them to administrate the most important they have, is their life. Because they don't have long life in front of them, so we are helping them to administrate their most valuable resource. So we have a strong responsibility as professionals when we are deciding by them or with them or for them where they can invest their time. We are helping them to the most important part of their life, how they are investing. So we must be aware of this responsibility. So the program it's amazing because it's just not impacting the clients, the caregivers, the family members, but also the program was changing the museum mentality, the museum understanding, and the museum consider what's my role in society. The museum is changing, so it was very interesting. So now the museum is collaborating more and more with the neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that there is poverty around and these things. So every time they are just going farther. So we start with Alzheimer, but they want to be more present at the community. They want to be more inclusive. They are thinking much more about universal design and how we can be. So it's amazing to see. We were interviewing the director, and talking with him, you realize that there is impact, but there is a change in the museum itself. So the program is changing the museum mentality. So that was nice also. So there is a trend towards accessibility about inclusive museums, especially in Spain. We are seeing that it's great. It's about accessibility, and they are much more worried about universal design, about everything. So from museums to inclusive culture is promote. It's a moment to improve the accessibility, to be part of society, and to make culture inclusive for everybody. So that's very important. So there are of course limitations of the program. So when we're talking about the educator, to say we would need more time with more human resources. Of course, they would like to be able to have more visitors, more groups, so they would need more human resources, especially more time. They just have on Mondays. It means that it's one day they have to focus there all the visits. And of course, it's a challenge because if you are in Museo del Prado, you are in Reina Sofia, or you're in Thyssen, you have like thousands of masterpieces, so it's very easy to choose the best ones. The people from the CCCB are changing the exhibition, so they must reinvent the visit every 3 months, and sometimes that's not so easy because Africa, how we can connect African with people from Spain. So this is a challenge, and they're doing very well, but of course it's a challenge for them. So they would like to have more resources, to have small groups, or they want to incorporate a graphic designer in the team just to make it more better, more inclusive. So they want to go further in this movement. So what are the key aspects if you want to consider to organize these visits with, from the educator's point of view? It's personalized attention. From the first moment they are welcome in the street, they have their names, they talk by name, and always they take care a lot of them and help them to make connections. Adaptations during the visits. We increase the light level of the room, reduce the sound level of the audiovisual devices, we add seats. We also adapt and select the tour, that is the pieces that we are explaining in each visit, and the topics to be treated. Access is allowed with an adapted vehicle. They are received directly in the vehicle, and each member of the group is identified by his name. So there is kind of art of welcoming, you know, that's important part of life. We have science, but also it's part art. When we are talking about the therapeutic relationship, it's more about art. This is part of the art, how we connect, we do the connections with the people and make them to feel welcome at the museum. So you see the interactions. The lady here is Tere. She's just talking with the clients, and you see how one of the clients is interacting with her, but you see the lady on the left, I think on the right for you, but the other lady, how she's looking, and her looks, I think is very stunned. So, and the educators wanted to know the impact. Okay, we are doing this program, we want to know what's going on. It's right, it's wrong, how to improve, and they wanted to listen to the people, because normally the programs, they run very fast, it's 1 hour and they go, so they had no time to listen in the clients, the caregivers and the family members, so they really wanted. It's very nice because in next September we'll start a similar project. Now we'll work in the Auditorio of Catalonia. It's the huge center of music of Catalonia, and there they work with mental health survivors, and they work with Alzheimer, people with dementia. And first of all, they play music themselves, and then they listen to the Catalonian National Symphony Orchestra performing music. So, and they also want to know what's going on here, how we can improve. So we start this research, will start in September. And it's nice because it's not just to enjoy art, it's just to perform art. So it's the both dimensions. So, but also the educator says, the program has a personal impact in myself. It connects you with your own grandparents, with the limitations that we may have in the future. It gives you a real opportunity to help others, to have a better quality of life. Every day when the visit finishes and they say goodbye and thank us, we look at each other convinced that it has been worth. It's always exciting and still very confronting because they want to go further. So, you know, day by day is not easy, so it's important when the impact of the caregiver, of the educators themselves, and to be able to contribute to create a better society, inclusive society, to make culture accessible for everybody. It has a personal impact. That's very important, because you know the tendency in the world today is towards productivity and with efficiency, and so many of the pressure is more about benefit, economic benefit in the general society. So to have this opportunity to contribute to the well-being is also very important, and it's meaningful for the educators. So this is one of the educators during one of the sessions. And for example, here on the first lady on the left is Jessica, is doing the field notes. I am on the other side, and we are also recording. So this is the day by day of the research, and this was about Africa. So the third part of the research, I'm just finishing with this, is the field notes. So we wanted to corroborate if the voice of the educators, the voice of the clients, the family members and the caregivers, and our vision was the same. So when we went through the field notes of the participant observation, it was again about well-being. It's more than 10% of the codes. The group begins to comment games they have played when they were small. They pretend to be playing the charanga in front of the group. Everybody laughs. There was a lot of moments of humor, of people locked in. It was really nice. It's not the... when you go to day centers in Spain, there is not a lot of funny moments around, or people smiling or making fun. And there was a lot of moments of this, so it was really... The exhibition provoked the enjoyment. Everyone smiles when they see the children. We heard, oh, especially for women. They illuminate their faces when they see the babies. Where this exhibition of the future of humanities, and there was one exhibit, you see a photo with little babies, and they were like, oh, and they start, because my grandson, my granddaughter. So it was, and humor is constantly present. And there was a kind of art piece. There was like a man with not a lot of dress, and he said, this is for summer. So it was a dress kind of underwear, so it's making fun of that, and he was really... The educator asked if there were swings in their village, columpios for swimming. And I said, yes, we went to the swings first without hands and then without teeth, says a lady. So they were making jokes, and everybody was... So it was very, very funny moments with people. How this just catching humor. And so regarding physical well-being, the importance of the wheelchairs, caregivers pool users who go with a wheelchair, and the same users accompany each other and in the group of two. So again, when we did the observations, it was about the cognitive impact of the visit. A user listening to a name like his wife is disoriented for a short time, asking about her. Where is Trini? This was the only moment we saw somebody who was disoriented, because when we were naming the people, one of the clients was named Trini, and her wife was named Trini, so she started, Trini's here. So it was the only moment during all the visits we faced a moment of disorientation, but finally he went very soon again to reality. But the users show both attention and orientation during the sessions. So for example, it was amazing. There were a lot of joking and humor going on that day in Africa. When we moved to the next art piece, it was a sit done by weapons with from soldiers. So they changed the mood immediately. So they were really flowing with reality, what they were watching. So they were identifying, okay, this is serious. And they start a conversation in a completely different tone, in a completely different, at a different level. So this is the art piece that we're watching. And it was a moment they were coming discussing about the underwears, and this was this summer, ha 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 ha. And they went here, and this is the one that the daughter was saying after she was talking about Africa at home with my father, with my parent, and here they start discussing about poverty, wars, Nelson Mandela. So it was amazing to see how they were connecting with reality, with contemporary reality. So it provoked their interest and their attention, and this was captures the attention of the users completely. Everyone smiles as they enter and see the children. They heard, oh, this is the narrative before, when they were seeing the babies. So one of the groups is really surprised to see some of shoes that have a very high heel and that must be put upside down to be able to walk. So there was really connecting, and for example, some of the pieces they could touch, and all them, even with a wheelchair, wanted there to touch them, and they were really connected to what they were seeing. And of course, in the diaries, the field diaries, of course, the evocation of memories was very important. Again, when they were seeing the babies, they start talking about their grandchildren and whatever, and how they were taking care of their own children. And there was one piece, it was like a robot who was with the little babies, just to take care of them while they're sleeping, and they start how they were taking care of the children. So this is the one with the babies, so you see how they are talking about the babies and what's going on, and my grandson, my granddaughter, whatever. So they were interacting with educators, so there was these lenses, they were talking about, I don't know what, about Africa, and there was no glasses. So the user was thinking, it has no the glass, just the structure, so just stand up and just pointing to see there was no glass. So there is a lot of connections and interaction. And this one was the tires. It was one art that they could touch, and everybody wanted to touch it and just to make sure what's going on. And that's good, because so many museums you want to touch and they don't let you. I am myself, for example, I am very frustrated. Yeah, because sometimes they are from, I don't know, steel or whatever. I say, come on, it's not going to ruin, but they don't let you. So this is great because they can touch. And so again, the educators are very important. How the reception, it's very important moment. The educators of the museum are placing stickers with the names of the participants. The users are happy with this initiative and they smile. It's important, it's about identity, because when you have Alzheimer's, sometimes you lose your identity. You are not George or Maria, you are the patient with Alzheimer's of the room 434 in so many places around the world still. So it's very important to always to be connected to their identity. Of course, the adaptations of the rooms, of the chairs, whatever. So here, for example, what they're naming all them, it's an important moment. But especially it's social participations. And this is very important. They are aware that we, as society, we are putting them apart. They are aware of this. And I think they must feel that's very unfair. Because as I told you, in Spain, they went through the civil war and they created the welfare that now we are negating to them. Because we are giving them slow pensions and we are not taking care enough of them. And we are telling our elders that they have no longer a role at the communities. I don't know what's going on in Canada, but you know, elders before, they were the ones transfer of wisdom. I was working in Guatemala with the elders and they had this role of transfer of wisdom, and they were taking care of the children. I was transferring the wisdom to the children. And in Spain was the same. Even my son with my mother has this role of wisdom transfer, and it's amazing, but we are losing this role at the society level. So you are not productive, sorry, you are not useful for your park. Now in the society today, in this neoliberal system, and when I'm talking or criticizing the neoliberal system, I'm not saying that I want a communist society, no, I'm just criticizing what we have in Spain. It's not just pointing, but we must reflect how the economic system is impacting in the systems, but also in the roles of the persons and the community, because it's about meaning of life. And they have a meaningful role to transfer wisdom, and they were respected figures at the community level. And in the new society, they have no space because they are not productive. And it's not fair, and we must face that we are doing that. So the visit is about social interaction. A user comments how she really likes these outings because they have the opportunity to see new faces and to talk to many different people. So, and this was also very nice, how they take care of each other, the ones who were able to walk, how they were pushing the ones with the wheelchairs. So I was really amazed for these interactions, informal interactions, how they take care of each other. The caregivers were there and the educators were there. Well, there were so many moments of complicity between them and helping each other. So that was also something really nice. So this is one, just here it was about Africa. And the educators are doing a great job, just looking for the interaction. For example, we're talking about prostheses, and they were asking, do you have any prostheses? Are you using yourself? You would need one or whatever. So always they look from the art piece to their life, and they make good connections. And validation. So yes, it looks like African clothing because of the colors, the materials. So every time the clients were participating, if they were saying something that was not completely right, they were not correcting. It was saying, no, it's not like this. No. They were validating their participation for them to be feeling comfortable and trying to guide them, but never correcting, always validating the participation. That was very, very important. Because it's different when they do more educational visits, it's more teaching people. And I will tell you what's going on right way. Here it's not the right way, it's more to be in contact and to enjoy the art and the culture. And for example, this was just of these sudden moments going on. One of the clients was saying, it's beautiful, and the other one saying, it's not beautiful, it's marvelous. So I just see the faces. So it was good. When we did the triangulation of the results, you see the quantitative part from the non-pharmacological therapy scale, and we did the triangulation with the voices of the clients, caregivers, family members, and the voices from the educators, and our own observations all went together and flow together. So these are our conclusions from this study. It's just 10 conclusions, and we have done, and thank you so much for your great attention. The program, this kind of program, is impacting especially in the health and the well-being of social participation of the users. It improves their emotional well-being, causing enjoyment, and humor is very present during the visits. Another conclusion is that it impacts the cognitive level, stimulating their attention and interest, orientation to reality, and greatly facilitating the evocation of memories. It's remarkable the enjoyment of the novelty, very close to learning. The participation in the program breaks the situation of isolation and exclusion in which they are. Also, it facilitates the social interaction, being relevant to relationships of mutual aid between the own users, how they were really helping each other. And the evaluation of the program is very positive on the part of the caregivers and the relatives. Educators play a key role in this success. The group's theories team is very good. Facilitation, personalized attention, encouraging the participation of all users, carefully adapting sessions and validating the participation of the users. The accessibility of the museum is a very important aspect in the frame of the tendency of the museums toward the inclusion. The temporary provision of human resources and the nature of the exhibition themselves are the main limits of the program. And caregivers propose to extend the duration of the visits as well as the regularity. The proposals of the educators are oriented towards the extension of the human resources and the improvements in the accessibility. And the last conclusion, it highlights the positive impact that the program has on caregivers, family members, the clients, but also in the educators, and even how it's changing the museum itself as an institution. So it's a profound impact. And this, for example, is one part of one of the field notes, one of the moments. So there was a moment they start talking, they were watching the babies. Do you remember the photo with the babies? So they start talking about games they were playing. And Tere, the educator, was like, there is a game called Charanka, and she was like acting this game that you are jumping. So when they see that the educator was like playing, they start making, they were very funny about this. And one of the clients said, one of them started singing one Spanish song, El Patio de mi Casa. El Patio de mi Casa es it's a very traditional Spanish song. So one of the ladies started singing spontaneously, and the rest of the clients follow singing. And they start singing and smiling. And there was a moment of silence after they finished the song. And they look at each other to see if they were sharing this moment of gratitude and happiness. And one of the ladies said, "We are as children." And they begin to describe histories from their childhood, happy to share these good memories with the rest. So we just select this field note moment because I thought it was very representative of all we spent 6 months in this research, with all the visits and whatever. We choose this moment as very, very meaningful. And we have a poet, a Catalan poet, who said that beauty, it can be art, it can be culture. So beauty is your heritage. Although you prefer the sad and routinary laziness of a cartoon books, we need art, we need culture, we need beauty in our life. This is our heritage because this is our essence. And unfortunately, as society, sometimes we are not aware and we do not devote enough efforts and resources to make sure that people has access to beauty in the form of art and culture. And sometimes we are condemning our people with Alzheimer or dementia to live in this routinary cartoon box. As I told you, there are so many thousands of people who are not so lucky to be in a center like this one around the world. So it's very important us to be aware of this need, of the need of beauty. And also there is this poet said that, Catalan poet said that everything is to be done, but everything is possible. So I just led with these words of the poet. So remember that everything is still to be done, but everything is possible. So thank you so much.